Hey there, been a minute or three, huh? A lot has happened since my last video. I got married, had children, then my children had children, and I lived a long, normal life all the way into my final years. And as I laid there on my deathbed, ready to pass on, I heard a voice booming from above. My son, it is not your time yet. You haven't made enough unfunny videos on your YouTube channel. I'm like your biggest fan, so go post more stuff now! And so I've returned from the grave. Alright. So where I've really been this whole time was just making that short film. Even though it took 9 months to deliver that child, I didn't actually spend anywhere near all of that time on it. If I had to estimate, maybe a month or so at most. If I like put in all the building, editing, writing the story and all that in there, maybe a month. And maybe some change too, but mostly just a month. I'll get to all that later. I decided to make this video as sort of a behind the scenes thing to show off all the builds, give some background about the project, and show some neat stuff you may have missed. Oh yeah, and sorry if this feels a bit rambly. I'm just kind of raw dogging this, so we'll see how it goes. It all started here in this neckbeard nest of a room that only a Reddit mod would thrive in. Nastiness all over the floor and trash bags everywhere to be seen. This room does set a good theme for the rest of the house, but it does also have one of my favorite pieces of environmental storytelling in the whole, film. It's right here. This is the only thing in the house that isn't nasty or in disarray. I did this to show that, despite our MC being more or less giving up on life, he is still holding on to something. I reinforce this idea through his dismay at how he thinks his parents view him. Despite them wanting to help him, he still pushes them away out of shame and guilt for how he lives. As for the piece itself, I wanted this to be a sort of drawing he made as a child that he held on to all the way into adulthood, as it holds sentimental value to him. The rest of this room doesn't really have anything else that I would say is noteworthy, but yeah, I guess we'll just move on. Passing through the nasty, disgusting hallway leads to the bathroom, which has some pretty neat stuff, namely all these little things I made with bits. These little things. I built a lot of the stuff just around using the bits. There's even a little bar of soap here. Forgot about that. Oh, dude, the toilet was so bad. I don't know, so do you see how it splits up right here? I originally had the toilet attached to the wall, but I accidentally bulged it out too far, so I accidentally destroyed the entire toilet and I had to rebuild it. It was terrible. I hated building the toilet. Now, there is a light switch that would turn on the light. It doesn't work in this version of the house. Actually, none of the light switches do except for this one over here. That is the only light. Originally, I was planning on having the protagonist turn that on at some point, but I never did, so this never ended up being used. So it's literally the only light that turns on in the house. More nastiness all over the place in this part of the house too. Oh, this little pile, I guess it's over there too. The pile of trash bags here took 2 hours to build. Getting the shapes right on this, oh my gosh. It's I wanted the, I knew I wanted a pile of trash bags, but I didn't know how tall I wanted it or how many. It was a whole process just to figure that out. And all the little ones, that one wasn't too bad. The TV I never actually showed, per se. I don't remember it showing. I think it showed for a brief moment, but it was used in one of the scenes in the beginning where he was just sitting here watching it. I literally, for the stove, just built this thing with bits right above a furnace. Thought that was pretty neat. Here's the microwave. He was just making some ramen there. Oh, and here's the button. And then here's the fridge. These other rooms down here don't really have a use. This one right here is, wait, I'm not even able to get in through the door, so I get in up here. This is literally empty. And the other room is actually also empty, except this is actually how I get in and out of the house, because the front door has a trash bag in front of it that I didn't think about until I placed it. But I really liked how it was in the scene when it shows up. I just really liked that, so I didn't want to move it. So I built literally an entire exit area back here. We can pretend for the story that this would have been like a laundry room and this was maybe I don't know, some kind of storage room maybe. But it also hides a really funny fact. That room actually holds a secret. And it's one that you may be able to guess if you look at the windows. The secret is that this whole thing was built in a super flat world. I mean, it was probably pretty obvious, but I wanted to hide that for the sake of the film. So I just made this little thing here. And yeah, this is how it looks from the outside. All the builds we're going to be looking at are way over there too. That's actually that's the version of the other version of the house. And you can actually see I started placing redstone for these, but I just started breaking it because I literally was never planning on turning on any of these lights except for that one, but that never ended up happening. The other thing outside that I figured I'd show is down here. So down here is where I have the original versions of everything I built with bits. So yeah, there's the trash bags, there's that, and here's the little drawing. These were all just here for just on the off chance I accidentally destroyed them. I wouldn't just lose them forever. I found out later that there's a whole section in the inventory for that, but I didn't know that at the time. I guess we can go ahead and visit this place next. So in here, all the lights do work, except that actually it's not anything to do with the light switches. I just put the redstone torches up there, and that's literally just the lights. The only exception to that is actually the oh my god, get in there. The only exception to that is the bathroom light, which does actually turn on and off. But yeah, this is literally just the same house as before, except this isn't, you know, going outside since I'm able to use the front door. The most notable thing in this house is probably the painting, which, you know, bits again. Another interesting thing to note about the houses is I actually messed up, and I didn't realize it till I posted the video. So for the first house, I used the mellow shader, and that's the shader that was only in the dirty house. And whenever I filmed the part for the other house, I had it on Bliss from the previous scene, and I forgot to change it. So it literally, I'll have, I meant to put mellow on for this part, but instead Bliss ended up being used instead. So it, yeah, that was actually unintentional. I didn't even realize I did it till I posted the video, and I was like, oh, well, it's not a huge deal. But yeah, that's pretty much everything for the houses. We can move on. Right over here, we have the first area that the MC is teleported to. I used the Bliss shaders for this part. It's really just, I'm pretty sure I showed everything that was already here in the film. The most notable thing here is probably all the stuff in here. So we got ourselves the inverted tree. Oh, the back, note how the foreground here is mostly black. And then at the end of the film, this actually turns to mostly white. It's just another visual representation of the change in his mental state. Up here, this is like a light. I wanted this to be like a sun that represents his passion for life. So right now it's at a just really low point here compared to the really tall ceiling here. And then by the end, I wanted, this place is all nice and lit up because it's up there and it literally is the sun that lights this whole place up. I thought that was a pretty neat way of doing that. And then in here is the fireplace that pretty much represents his will to live. And then over here, This was a really subtle detail, but notice how only 5 of these are lit. I wanted the, this is actually supposed to represent his family. So the 2 here being his parents and the 3 here being his siblings. That was a little bit subtle though, so I definitely wouldn't blame anyone for missing that. Over here, this door is actually empty. There's nothing in here. It was just there for a transition. And I think that's everything that I wanted to show off in this place. But yeah, I do really like this build. So this is literally just the same place, but after he returns. So note how the floor is now mostly white. We got the nice big open place that lights this whole area up. We got the fireplace is now opened and burning. And then the door is gone. That is something that I made sure to do. And over here is literally just, this is where the credits were rolling. I wanted it to be like him running towards the light here for this. And there's nothing really else in here. The tree is also normal now, showing how he's pretty much turned back to normal. I actually spent a decent amount of time building the pattern for this place. It was a little bit harder to see in the other place since there's no lighting. But here, actually, I'll go ahead and turn this on. Yeah, this is how the place looks with Bliss. It was I wasn't really sure if I wanted to use Bliss for this area, but I just decided to since the other one did, and I figured it would help with just matching it. So in between the 2 places is this. I built something absolutely insane in here, and you'd never be able to guess what it was. It's the intro to this video. I literally built this like a little bit ago. Like not even no time at all ago, just before I started this. So I guess that's nice. Let's move on. Oh, I didn't even realize there was a hole in the floor. So what we're seeing here in this place is the aftermath of everything. So over here, the pigs that are dead and all twisted up and messed up. I wanted this to like show how his anxiety and paranoia is affecting the space that he's in. And it starts over here with all of this. This plays a huge part in all of that. You can think of this as sort of the antagonist of the film. It's like the representation of his willingness to just not do anything with himself. That's actually why I named the film Idle Being, is because of our protagonist just choosing not to do anything instead of trying to actively help himself in a situation. Over here we got some very easy parkour. If this was parkour civilization, I'd be eating raw beetroots or something. This right here is actually what I used to make this fall. Whenever I got the footage for that whole thing, that pitfall was literally, I pushed the button and I stood literally right here and I waited and I set a timer on my phone. I waited for the timer to run out and then I just started running, and that's how that scene actually played out. And down here, it's just nothing down here other than that. And then here's the poppy, of course. Who could forget the poppy? These actually represent peace in some places around the world, so that's why I chose the poppy. Just a neat little fun fact for you. But that's pretty much all for this place. Let's move around to that big, ominous, dark thing behind me. This place was really, really neat to build. I had the idea for that hand literally from before I even started. And what's really interesting about the hand is it's actually reaching this way, because this is actually an optical illusion that I built to make it appear as though it is facing the other way. When you're looking at it from this point of view, I wanted it as sort of like an optical illusion to make it more like he's grasping the moon. Yeah, there we go. So this is what I had here, and I think it's a little bit easier to see here whenever the shaders are on. So I wanted this to be a right hand grasping the moon instead of a left hand reaching towards it. So it was sort of like an optical illusion thing that I made here. So right here, this is the entrance to that storage looking room. right up here. But yeah, here's the hiding place is back here. This is where the protagonist went to hide. And this room's got literally nothing in it. I had him look around a little bit at that place and just some other areas around, like over here. And he found that place to hide in when he was looking through all the chests. And then of course, you can't forget this. So this path is actually just goes in a big loop. So it goes way over here and it's literally, it ends right there. These hands were pretty interesting. I made them with bits, obviously. But the whole thing with these was I just wanted it to have something down here to add a little bit of tension. So I figured they would be a good enough thing for that. That's really all there is here though. This place isn't super huge, so I guess we'll go ahead and move on. So this right here is the set piece for the maze, which is one of my favorite parts that I made. It was really, really interesting to film this. So what I did was I grabbed a bunch of freeze frames of each of these and I used them, and then I would literally paste them right behind the protagonist, and that's how I got that scene. So these are all the different versions of it, and funnily enough in the film you don't even see how this starts. So with the first one, the only thing that changes is the eyes move towards the protagonist, and then the monster actually starts to come out, and you actually only see this part. You don't even see the first few movements of it until it's already up and is about ready to attack, more or less. So then you get all of this here, which was that's the monster pretty much. So up here, this is actually where I filmed the final scene in this section. And the reason for that is actually because of the monster. It doesn't rotate properly. Here, I can actually show you. So that room is actually right here. But the reason why I had to move it to another place is because the monster doesn't paste properly. So if I were to rotate it 90 degrees to be able to get it to fit in here, it literally doesn't. Oh, oops. But yeah, here, do you see what happens? It flips everything except what it's supposed to flip, so it ends up literally destroying itself due to how I placed stuff. So I'm only able to rotate it either 180 degrees or not at all. I wasn't able to rotate it 90 in here, or 270 is what the proper number would have been, but it didn't. That was happening just on the other side. So I literally built this whole other room just so I'd be able to get that scene in. As for the maze itself, here's the whole thing here. This was the beginning of the place. And then you turn and it's literally just a big maze. I actually didn't even have to use the same hallway more than once, I don't think, at all in any of the scenes. I literally just moved to different parts of the maze. I think the same place shows up like once or twice, but the proper path to get through is over here. And this is where that scene where the monster first appears is. And then he goes down this hallway. It looks like there's two places to go here, but they both end up here. And then this is just a straight shot to the end. That's pretty much everything I wanted to show for this part. Right here we have just this short little place. Originally, I was actually going to have the protagonist go through this door and get stuck in whatever room I was going to build here, but I decided to just have him not even move right here. I thought it would fit better. So the signs, I wanted to put some doubt on them. Like, I wanted the audience to doubt the signs at this point in the story, when in reality the signs were on his side the entire time. But I wanted to throw some doubt that way. I wanted it to seem as though the signs were what was forcing him into these terrible situations, but really it was just his paranoia and anxiety reflecting on the environment, because all of these places that he transports to are all just manifestations of his paranoia and anxiety, and every time that they get worse, the place changes to reflect that. So as his mental state gets better towards the end of the film, notice how literally everything changed. So after this, he's brought into a series of places. I can just show you like just rapid fire here. So from the start here, it's just this room right here. I wanted this to feel like some type of just normal liminal space you'd see somewhere. And then he's brought to the next place. I wanted it to be like a series of liminal spaces was the original idea. In the end, I only ended up having some of them like that. In here, this place here I think is pretty nice. So he's standing here and he's the same distance away from two things here. He's got this door that says find yourself, but then he turns towards the couch, which represents inaction or staying idle. Oh, that's the name of the movie. And he chooses to sit here instead of just going through the door and moving on. So I thought that was a pretty neat part. And then over here, I think is the next place he's brought to, which is just this neat little room I made. This was actually the last one I built. Originally, I didn't even have this as part of the thing, but I wanted one more place for him to teleport to, so I built this little thing. I swapped to different shaders for all of these, and I don't even remember half of them, so I'm just going to be running through this. In here is another one. I really like this one. I really, really like this one, actually. It's really uneasy when you look at this. I probably should have had the doors facing the other way, though, now that I'm sitting here looking at this again. Because, like, this looks a little bit flat. I think if I had all the doors facing this way, it would have been a little bit better. But I'm only just now thinking of this, so I guess it's not a huge deal. Here's another place I used right here. The really ominous looking hallway full of dead bodies. And then up here was the big vat of water that he fell into that I wanted to appear like it was an ocean. So I made it seem like it was an ocean, but it's just a big pool, pretty much. This right here, I actually had a different idea planned for this than what I ended up doing in the film. Originally, I had pieces of stone that, and I used bits that went all the way down and stopped right before the protagonist's face. But unfortunately, that didn't end up working because it just didn't look right. So I decided not to bother, and I just got rid of it, and we ended up with this. I really like this section. I just really like the build. It just feels really awesome. And I really like that shader too. The, which one? This one. It just gave the place a really neat feel to it. Oh wait, hold on, it was nighttime. But yeah, this just feels really, really neat. I really like this part a lot. There was a lot of like attention to like the foliage and the way that the path moves and stuff. I wanted it to feel like he was just alone in a forest. Right here is that big monster thing. Originally, I was thinking of doing something a little bit different for this part, but this was still pretty much the whole idea here, was him falling into the mouth of a monster, but at the last second getting teleported into that vat of water. And then right here was a place that I actually forgot about. It was the little jail cell surrounded by the woods area. Now, I actually messed up. I made a huge mistake whenever I was filming this part, because I had the first person view panned to right here, and you can literally just see the monster section from here. So I had to get rid of that in editing right before I posted it, and I almost didn't see it. That would have been a little bit bad. And then right over here is that big fiery place where he was hanging off that. It's just a little neat thing here. This right here is what I use to get that really fast like teleport sequence. And all I did was I would just do this and then just set it to something else. Like say, here, let's do just oak planks, white wool. Oh, oops. I literally just did that every time. And that's how I got all those. I just rapid fired that, and I'll change it a little bit for whatever I needed it. So right here, moving on, we got the white boxes. I actually went through a lot of trouble trying to hide the fact that this whole thing was just a big box. So I only showed like the top and like the wall. I didn't want those to appear at all in any of the scenes, because whenever I accidentally showed it, it just felt so immersion breaking to see the end of the wall. I wanted this to feel like it stretched forever, and that the only thing here was the protagonist and the representation of all of his paranoia and anxiety right here, and his willingness to give up. So what there's actually 2 versions of this place, and the other one's right here. And this just doesn't have, the only difference is the antagonist is gone now, and he doesn't show up anymore for the rest of the film. Now we're on to the biggest build, that is also my favorite, and also was the longest one to build right here. This thing was a beast. I was enjoying building this so much. I put so much attention to detail in this. There is so much, I could literally make an entire video just raving about the symbolism that I trickled into this place. It is everywhere, but I won't do that in this video. I think in all, this whole place took about 10 to 15 hours to build, I think, in total. And a lot of that time was spent just figuring out how I wanted this to be. Here, hold on, let me turn on the shaders. I'm pretty sure I used Bliss for this part. And yeah, it was Bliss. I was originally going to have the protagonist be on top of this, and then this is where he would start going up, but I changed my mind to having stuff just appear in front of him. I wanted it to really be known that this place isn't just negative. This whole area he's been to from the beginning just reflects his will to live. And since he wanted to move on, a path was formed to get him there, to get him out. And right up here we have this really neat spot. I really liked doing this part here. It was really neat, just all the inverted stuff. And then up here we got the Ouroboros with some Ankh signs and the palm pierced hands here. I really liked this whole thing. This is probably my favorite. Everything from here down visually is my favorite part of this place, but it does get really nice up here too. Here's just a set of symbols that all have various things that I won't go into. Same with the butterflies and the eyeballs and the eye shapes. There's a lot of eye shapes in this place actually. And then right up here, I wanted this to be a sort of a reference to the trumpets that would play during the end of the world, but instead they're playing for our protagonist. I wanted that to be a sort of thing here. And then we got, I wanted this to be a reference to the Hanging Gardens of Babylon as well. I just thought that this would be a neat little visual here, and I really like how it turned out. And then right up here we have the chained arm that is reaching out to the light that stands in the center of everything. This right here, this whole thing was amazing as well to build. I was blown away by how well that this turned out right here. I was very like satisfied with this. I really liked this part too. I could genuinely spend like the entire video here, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on before I do too much. All the way up here, this random door is where I filmed the entire section that took place in the air. All that's here for just standing on is just barriers that all that's here is just a bunch of barriers, and that's it. That's literally just this whole place. And I actually messed up when I was editing the video. I meant to have the sound for stepping on these be stone, but I accidentally used the wood instead. So there's literally wood sound effects all over the place whenever I'm moving in this part. Actually, speaking of the footsteps, something I probably should mention is that every footstep that you hear throughout the entire film was placed manually by me, because Replay Mod and BBS Mod don't actually record audio, only video. So whenever I was animating and stuff, and I put it all into my editing software, I then had to go through and manually place every footstep that you hear in the entire film. I thought that was a little bit tedious, but it wasn't as annoying as you'd probably think it was. But that's pretty much everything up here. Hope you enjoyed all the builds. I had a lot of fun building all of this stuff, especially this one. That's all I wanted to show today. If you had anything you were wondering about, let me know down below and I will answer it to the best of my ability. I didn't go over all the just like symbolism and background stuff for all these areas, but I figured, you know, I can just let people figure it out themselves. I don't need to force feed the entire plot to people. But yeah, I mean, thanks for watching the film if you did watch it. This whole project was a really interesting thing to work on. I noted earlier how I hadn't actually spent the whole 9 months building this or producing it. Most of that time was spent either procrastinating or just doing other things, which I guess is still procrastinating, but you know what I mean. I just got stuck in this loop of wanting to do it and not wanting to do it, and it got really hard to, you know, understand what I wanted, because originally this whole project was just an exercise for me to learn how to edit better and just learning animation because animation's awesome. But it eventually evolved into me writing an entire story and literally making a movie. So it really did grow to beyond what the original plan was. The story itself originally also changed a few times as I was producing it, but all the themes were the same, but just the way I presented the story changed. But yeah, I wasn't really too sure how I would do this because I'd get a lot of the project done and then I would be fighting the urge to just stop doing it and just start on other videos because I got so many other video ideas that I want to do. But I knew that if I started on something else, I would never have finished the short film. It would have just stayed unfinished forever. So I decided that before I did anything else, I was going to finish it. And that mindset pretty much just led to me pushing it further and further back until I eventually just lost the will to work on it. But then I'd have these flashes of motivation and inspiration that would just lead to me doing entire sections of it. But then I would stop working on it, but then I'd start again, but then I'd stop, and then I'd start. It was a whole thing. But now that it's finally done, I'm gonna start doing the things that I was pretty much wanting to do while I was producing the film. And I got a lot of awesome ideas planned, a lot of just fun videos, really. So yeah, definitely stick around for all that, and thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed everything I showed today as well as the film. Be sure to stick around if you're interested in seeing whatever is happening next on here on the channel. I'm not really sure what's going to be the next upload, but I'll figure it out. And until then, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see ya.